Hello and welcome into another video on this channel. Today we'll be talking about JavaScript console object. We know and use a lot console.log, but there is a lot more to it. So let's hop into the VS Code and see what other method it holds. Alright, so we are in our VS Code. I instantiated a new project, console.log, and let's create ourselves a file. Let's call it app.js. And here, let's talk a little bit about console objects. So console.log, we know all, like hello world. Let's instantiate ourselves a console also. Let's drop it down a bit. Let's clear it and let's do node app.js. So very basic console.log, which we use a lot of on a daily basis. But there is also console.info, IAM-info. Let's call it IAM-info. And let's do it also. Let's run it one more time. And let's maybe use nodemon, which we know about lately in other video. I will link it down below. It will be watching for all the changes so that we don't need to restart the app on our own. So IAM-info, it's the same as console.log. There is also a warn, so IAM warning. Let's see how it looks like. It's the same here, and let's do console.error, IAM error. So it looks more or less like this. Let's instantiate this way. It looks from this part, it looks the same. So another thing we can do, or maybe let's get back to the info warn and error for just a moment. In the future, we'll be talking about logging and throwing those logs, let's say, to some independent server so that we would be able to query them. Then this info warn or error, which we call a severity level, it will be very important. So let's say on console.info, we would log only the information. So what function was run, what parameters or what arguments or what values were passed to particular function or some computation result. But let's say if we would do a warn, then we would be able to attach it to some kind of a warning. Okay, we know that we got, let's say, an array, but we didn't want a blank array, so we are throwing, let's say, a warning that the array length is 0, so it doesn't hold any elements. And for error, we would wrap in an error, let's say, some kind of a error objects, like error thrown from the database or from the function that something went wrong. And then on those severity levels, we can work with that. So that's a little bit about the severity and errors. Let's go another step. So there is something about tables. So let's maybe instantiate a table in console. So we will do firstly, let's say, users. Let's do a array of elements with, let's say, name and age. Let's say we have such an array. And then we would like to do a console.table on the users. And let's see how this will look like. So you can see we don't use it a lot. We are using usually console.log, but as you can see, this table has a very nice output and it's a very clear what is happening. So this is table. Let's right now do also something called group. So we will do a console.group and let's call it, let's say, maybe group. Let's also call it users. And then we will do a console log of, let's say, name. Let's say John, and let's do another console log for the age, let's say this 34, and let's group end here and see how this will look. As you can see, there is a little bit of an indentation here. It looks more or less like YAML or something, just from the view. So we know that we started this group called users, and in this group there are two console logs with name and age, so they are a little bit of indented, so that we don't look it like this. Because the other way, let's maybe copy that, and we would be able to, let's say, log it this way. So the reason and the difference is in this indentation. It's just a matter of clarity of what we read. Another function, let's say we will talk about two. One is a time. Time is a great thing if you want to know how much time passed on some computation or function run. So let's maybe work around that. So we will do a console.time, and let's say compute started. And then let's create ourselves an array, and let's do a new array of, let's say, 1 million elements, and let's fill it with zeros. That will be a good example. So we will do this, and at the end let's do console time end, and let's do compute finished. Let's see how it will look like. Console time. All right. Sorry, that's my little bit of mistake. This is a label. So we are doing compute, and then it takes this label which was given here and checks the time between start time and the end time. So here we have a compute of 6.757 milliseconds, but we can, let's say, raise it to 5 million array. We have like 35, and this is very useful if you want to check the performance of your function or how it behaves, or if you would like to do a counter between start of the request and end of the request, let's say in an Express.js app, to know how much time it takes to do it. So let's go with one last method, which is console.clear, and we will clear our console from all these things. And that's it for today. So console object in JavaScript is a lot more than console.log. I think that for the reason of showing some information and logs, console table, group, and time will be useful for you. So that's all for today, and see you next time.